What is up, guys? Soul Sports back again with another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the Dallas Mavericks and 3 players who I believe they should trade for. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, I thought we're going to have a super aggressive offseason going after the top guys such as Kemba Walker, or going after Nikola Vucevic, or Tobias Harris, or Chris Middleton, and maybe to like sort of an extent the lesser guys, Bojan Bogdanovic, but I think Bojan Bogdanovic will probably be in the same tier as a Chris Middleton, and then the lesser tier guys such as JJ Redick, I'd like to see them sign, or a Patrick Beverly, even a Danny Green, and they just didn't end up with any of those guys. They made a lot of in-house re-signing guys such as Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, and then going out and signing DeLon Wright. So looking at it, obviously their big move this offseason was re-signing Kristaps Porzingis to this big 5-year max extension, and overall, just looking at it from my point of view, I think it's a good extension. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is a guy who, when he was healthy, averaged around 23 and 7. Those are amazing numbers, and I think he'll just get better. Obviously, he hasn't played basketball in over a year, but I think that helps him more than it hurts him. I think he's been working out, and we'll see what he can come and bring to this Mavericks team. I think he'll be an all-star. I think him and Luka will be a great pairing, but the question that surrounds them this past season, or this upcoming season, is, can they make a playoffs? Possibly, if everything goes well this season, they can, as in if Luka takes the jump that everybody's expecting him to, and if Kristaps can also take that jump and come back to play like his former self before he tore his ACL, and if he can be healthy. Those are big questions that everybody's looking for. And I'd just be more, I'd be more I wouldn't be as nervous for them, I guess you could say, if they were to go out and sign these big free agents. But looking back at it now, I'm kind of happy because that they didn't, go after these big guys, because, I mean, giving Tobias Harris and, Chris Middleton $40 million, a year, I don't know if that's the look. But yeah, this is the third installment of my new series, I guess you can say, and I'm going to be discussing 3 players who I want the Dallas Mavericks to go after, and 3 players that will definitely, help them this season and for playoff season to come. So with that being said, let's get started. So 3 players that I looked at for the Dallas Mavericks are all big men. I think from the forward position and the guard position, I think they probably have those, locked down at least for this upcoming season. I mean, talking about point guards, you have DeLon Wright and you have Jalen Brunson, 2 guys who played well last year. You have your wing guys in Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, even though Tim Hardaway Jr. will be, talked about a lot in this video. Talking about your wing depth out, it's not looking good. Luka will probably be your starting small forward. You have Justin Jackson, Dorian Finney-Smith, who you re-signed, and then talking about your big man, looking at the center position, it's looking really weak. I mean, Dwight Powell will probably be your center this year, and then you have Boban, who you signed. I mean, those 2, can they really, I don't know, those aren't really game-changing centers to me, but yeah, let's just get into it. So first person I have them trading for is Andre Drummond. Now, Andre Drummond is, of course, the starting center for the Detroit Pistons. And my philosophy, or my looking at for this, is if the Pistons are looking to rebuild, I mean, Andre Drummond, his contract is up at the end of this year, and he's going to be looking to get paid. He's 25 years old, talking about what he did last year, putting up 17 points, 16 rebounds, by far his best, well, not by far, but definitely his best season of his career. And yeah, that's a big question surrounding the Pistons. And I think for me, trying to get Andre Drummond probably won't be as hard. I mean, yeah, he has a player option, but more than likely he'll decline it. So just saying, if you're looking at this from the Pistons standpoint, since you've gotten Andre Drummond, you haven't really done much. So it's looking like he'll probably leave, unless, he really loves Detroit, as some people do. But what a trade I would do is Andre Drummond going to the Dallas Mavericks for Tim Hardaway Jr., Isaiah Roby, Justin Jackson, and a future picks, future first, future seconds, whatever. My looking at this, you might say that the Pistons aren't really gaining anything from this, but you're getting 2 young guys in Isaiah Roby and Justin Jackson. You're getting Tim Hardaway Jr., who you can then use to package a young guy to use to get that cap off. Or if you want Tim Hardaway Jr. can play the 2 for you. He's a good volume, he's a good scorer. He's okay at that. And you're getting something for Andre Drummond. I don't know if this is a trade that be made at the start of the season. This is a trade that I look like we made maybe towards the trade deadline, if things aren't really working well and it's looking like Andre Drummond won't resign. That's something you do to hopefully get something out of him, so to say. But yeah, that's just my first trade, Andre Drummond for Tim Hardaway Jr., Isaiah Roby, Justin Jackson. So moving on to the next player that I want them to trade for. And I think a player who they definitely should have signed in this past free agency is Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic last year had his best season by far. I can definitely say by far. Put up 21 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists on 52% shooting from the field, and played in 80 games, which is something that you love to see. Yeah, he's someone that I definitely thought, the Mavericks were going to sign this offseason. I mean, talking about what he got this year, 4-year, $100 million. That's not that much, especially considering that, I mean, yeah, you could say, oh, this was a contract year, so his play picked up, but I don't know. Nikola Vucevic is 28, so that 4-year deal until he's 32, he's just entering his prime. It looks like 7 foot, 12 rebounds last year is amazing. So, yeah, but as I said, NBA All-Star, and my thing from this is the Magic have Mo Bamba, and you drafted him high, and Nikola Vucevic is only going to stun his growth because Mo Bamba's just not getting, the minutes that a top 5-6 pick deserves. In my eyes, I'm looking at it as the same thing as, well, maybe not the same thing, but similar to the Detroit situation. If you're playing, the Orlando Magic and you aren't doing anything, you aren't really in the playoff hunt, or you're just on a cusp, but you probably won't make it. This is a trade that I definitely see them making, and this trade kind of makes sense considering Nikola Vucevic, again, just signed that extension, so this is a trade that cannot be done until January 15th. That gives the Magic plenty of time to see where they are. If you're, contending, of course you keep them 100%, but if you're out of the playoff hunt, or if it looks like, Nikola Vucevic's play has dipped down now that he's gotten his extension and it's time to unleash Mo Bamba, this is something that you can consider. But again, I literally have the same 2 players. For this trade, I said Nikola Vucevic going to the Dallas Mavericks for Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Jackson, and more than likely 2 first-round picks. I would say 1 protected and probably 1 unprotected. Now, these first-round picks, of course, will probably be in the later stages, like 2024, 2025, 2026, those years. Tim Hardaway Jr., you're looking at a player to get you out of this Nikola Vucevic contract 2 years early. And then Justin Jackson is another player who can hopefully turn it around. I mean, he hasn't really been anything for the Kings and for the Dallas Mavericks since he's, entered the NBA, but you're hoping that he can potentially give you something if you're Orlando. Now, again, you could say this is a horrible trade. I don't know why the Magic would do this, but just think of it like this. You're just trying to get out of this contract that you gave Nikola Vucevic, and this is just, going off a lot of assumptions, assuming that the Magic don't have a good season, because it was obvious that they were going to re-sign Nikola Vucevic because you want to go back and you want to replicate what you did last year, even though, you were only, the 7th seed. You're hoping that, players like Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac can take strides to hopefully, shoot you up in that standings, which I think can happen. But again, as I said, if it doesn't work out and you want to get out of his contract early, or if his play has dipped down, this is definitely a trade I can definitely see them making. But yeah, Nikola Vucevic is my second player, and the last player that I'm going to discuss in this video is Steven Adams. Now, out of the 3 trades, this is a trade that obviously makes the most sense to me. Steven Adams and the Dallas Mavericks have been linked for, most of the summer now. Talking about what Steven Adams has done on the past years. I mean, his stats don't really tell the full story because, you have Russell Westbrook. I don't want to say Russell Westbrook was stealing his rebounds from him, but Russell Westbrook was a guy who, it was obvious that Steven Adams was letting him get these rebounds, and it made sense because, it was easier to start the fast break, as you don't have to waste that half a second and a half and of Steven Adams grabbing the rebound and then dishing it out to Russell Westbrook. But last year he put up 14 points, just under 10 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. That is with another player on your team averaging over 10 rebounds. That is great. And I think on this team, next to Kristaps Porzingis, he can definitely thrive. Talking about the pick and roll that he can have with Luka Doncic. Talking about the pick and roll, I think you even talk about this, that all the other guys can have. And especially with Nikola Vucevic, the pick and roll and the pick and pop. Nikola Vucevic is a guy who shot well from 3 last year. Just looking at his numbers really quickly, Nikola Vucevic shot, where is it? He shot 36% from 3. That's a great percentage, but going back to Steven Adams, the pick and roll with him and Luka Doncic should be great. He's a guy who's extremely strong. Played in 80 games. It's kind of an Iron Man, talking about since he got into a league, 81 games, 70 games, 80 games, 80 games, 76 games, and then 80 games this past season. That's amazing. That's something that you're definitely looking for. But, the problem with him is, is he, that top center that, his contract says he is? I don't know. Talking about what he did last year, though, 1.5 steals and 1 block per game. That's very good. That's very good. And I think in the new system, such as the Dallas Mavericks, he can definitely thrive. 7 foot, 265 pounds, extremely strong.
that twin towers you would have with him and Kristaps should be amazing, and his play will definitely elevate. You know, in my eyes, I could definitely see him going up to like 15 and 13. You know, that's definitely what I see. But what a trade would look like for me, it'll probably be Steven Adams for, again, Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Jackson, and probably a couple picks. I was gonna change this to be like Courtney Lee, and maybe you include one of Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell if it just isn't working out for you, or maybe you'd include Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't know. I just didn't want to, you know, have Tim Hardaway Jr. being the only player, but you know, of course, in a trade finder, you couldn't do guys who are, you know, just resigned, and you'd have to wait until January 15th to make that trade anyway. So if they want to do this trade now, you can do Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Jackson, and future picks. I think that definitely gets it done. For one, I mean, both Steven Adams and Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contracts are up, you know, in 2 seasons. But with Tim Hardaway Jr., you're saving yourself $5 million in the cap. And Justin Jackson's contract, I haven't been talking about this, but it's a team option. So if he doesn't really produce anything, you just decline it. You save yourself $3 million. Save yourself overall about what, $5 million looks to be. So, you know, all in all, it would probably be a great move for you. And then you get those picks too, which those picks would hopefully, you know, be picks, as I stated, in 2024, 2025, 2026, when you also have picks from the Rockets and picks from the Clippers. And potentially you can, you know, package all of those picks that you're getting to then go out and get yourself a star player in the future. So yeah, but that's as I said, this is one that is probably most likely for happening to me, considering that Steven Adams is the one of the players, or the only player that as of right now is, I guess you could say, on the trade block. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Those are my 3 players that I want the Dallas Mavericks to go after. As I said earlier, the reason is I'm really iffy on the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know if they can go out there and compete for even a playoff spot, considering, you know, outside of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, they have good role players, but they don't have that third star that, you know, you really wanted them to go out there and be aggressive and try to get. But yeah, as I said, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Please like and sub and share with your friends. But it's So Sports, and I'm out. Peace.